Hi, I'm Brittany Pacheco,
And I'm Amber.
and we are back with The Handmaid's Tale. Praise be. We are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome back to our channel if you are a longtime follower, and welcome. If you are new, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are currently on the road to 500 subscribers. Click that button down below, and while you're at it, be sure to hit that notification bell. That way you can join us for the next time we go live about The Handmaid's Tale. Amber, I'm so glad that you're able to join me once again to discuss this crazy dystopian show that for many people feels far too real given the state of things in the real world. And I'm just glad that we're here to be able to talk about it. We also encourage everyone who joins us, especially in our live streams, to let us know your thoughts about the season 6 premiere, which is actually the final season of Margaret Atwood's novel, The Handmaid's Tale, on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. Shout out to King B. Johnson for being here. Appreciate you being here and supporting us as always. So, Amber, season 6, the final season. Hulu dropped the first 3 episodes. What were your overall thoughts on the first 3 episodes?
I overall I liked them. I'm happy to be back but I guess that's kind of weird thing to say considering the story. But I'm very interested to see how everything's going to wrap up and progress. I did think it was a little anticlimactic for at least the first episode. Was a little anticlimactic for this being the finale season and the first episode of the last season. I kind of felt like, oh, this is just another season. Like to me, it felt like, oh, this is just another season. I don't feel any of the, I guess, looming presence of it being a finale season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. It felt a little lackluster for me as well. I felt like, yes, we're gaining story, and maybe because there's not that much action at this point that we have previously witnessed in the past seasons. But to kind of give a better understanding of what we mean, let's just do a quick recap of what happened at the season 5 finale. And that was where we see June and Serena, the most unlikely couple. I don't mean couple as in like anything romantic, but like they find themselves together on a train that's heading west, fleeing Canada with a bunch of other American refugees. And mind you, Serena has given birth. You know, we all thought that for the longest she was barren. She could not give birth. And she did. She certainly did in season 5 of The Handmaid's Tale with the help of June. So there's kind of like this maybe kind of blurred line of like loyalty and just feeling some type of way, right? I feel like Serena feels that June is her friend now, all is forgiven, and June not quite so, forgiving, right? So June and Serena are on this train. June unfortunately had a really bad encounter with a Gilead sympathizer in Canada who attempted to kill her. Let's just be real. He ran her over. He hit her, ran her over, broke her arm, so she's healing, but she's on her own with baby Nicole, just as Serena's on her own with baby Noah. And Luke, if you're wondering, Luke came to his wife's rescue, if you will, defending her after that driver, the Gilead sympathizer, ran over his wife. And Luke did a number or two on this sympathizer. And unfortunately for Luke, this sympathizer died. So Luke, American refugee, has actually murdered, if you will, a Canadian on Canadian soil. So Luke is being sought after. There's no way that this train would have left without locating Luke. So he gave himself up so that June and Nicole could have a chance at leaving and hopefully having a better life. And Nick, we all love Nick. I mean, I at least do. I don't know how you feel about Nick, Amber, but I think, we like Nick. Nick obviously still feels some type of way towards June. Obviously, she is the mother of his daughter, Nicole. And Commander Lawrence has kind of been his mentor, if you will. Well, Nick believes that Commander Lawrence was the one who issued the hit on June, and that didn't end well because Nick swung at Commander Lawrence in front of the other commanders. By the way, y'all, Nick is married in Gilead. He has a wife who is also pregnant. I think Nick just needs to populate Gilead. All right, his goods are good for everyone. Let's just be real. Um, so Rose is her name. She's a high commander's daughter. She's been very understanding about Nick and his situation, but again, she's pregnant. She feels some type of way now that she knows that he still drops whatever he does just to go help out June. And so she's like, you know what? Peace out. I'm done with you. Love is very complicated in Gilead. Wouldn't you agree, Amber?
If you can call it love. um, yeah. Overall I like Nick, but I'm conflicted only because of the fact that I saw a TikTok today. I told you earlier I was looking at TikToks for Handmaids to kind of get in the vibe, and somebody said it better than I could. She said, if he wanted to, he would. And he, for all of his dropping everything for June and continuously helping June, even at the risk of his own safety and his detriment with Gilead, he still goes back to Gilead. Like he likes the power and the prestige that comes along with it, which it's just like, you can't have both, dude. You can't have both. And as much as I love, and I'm always very much just like, cool. Like I really do like them as a ship, especially because it was a trauma. A love formed from trauma. I get it, but dude, you need to start making some decisions. You can't be so wishy-washy, especially in a situation like this.
I want to say that there's actually a verse in the Bible, and I can't tell you if it's in the Old or New Testament or not, but I believe that there's a quote or a verse, in the Bible that basically says that we as people, we as human beings, cannot serve God and mammon, meaning like the devil. So like you either are gonna, point north, stay, on the path, or you're gonna waver and go down a completely different path. And for Nick, this would apply very much to him. He's trying to have the best of both worlds, but he absolutely cannot, because he is going to slip in the commander role in Gilead if he continues to help June the way that he does. But we're going to talk more about Nick and June and that ship throughout this episode. So once again, everyone, we will be going over the first 3 episodes of season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale, the final season. And let's just do a quick rundown of the stars of this show. I'm not naming everyone, but just the main characters, basically. Elisabeth Moss, Yvonne Strahovski, Ann Dowd, Madeline Brewer, Max, I always butcher his last name, so don't come at me, people. Minghella? We're going to go with that. OT, Fagbenle, and Bradley Whitford. These are all the same main characters that we've had from previous seasons, and I'm glad that we got their return. I got a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I got a little concerned about a couple of these characters because we did not see them in the first 2 episodes of the season. We saw them in the 3rd episode, but I still have questions. I have questions about other characters that we have yet to see that kind of had a pretty significant role in season 5. But again, we'll talk about that soon. Be sure to give us a like here if you're tuning in for The Handmaid's Tale. You like The Handmaid's Tale, and let's get into it, Amber. So the first episode of season 6 is entitled Train. And this picks up exactly where we left off with season 5. June and Serena are still on the train traveling west. Now they believe that they are going to, I believe it's Vancouver. Is it Vancouver?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're traveling from Toronto. They think they're going to go to Vancouver. Well, they find out that they really aren't. The train is going to keep going west to inadvertently end up in Alaska. But they are surrounded by other refugees. And it seems like Serena is really just trying to tap into this maternal instinct that maybe is just not very real, for her quite yet, because she's still very Gilead mindset driven. What did you think of Serena trying to relate and reach out to these other female refugees one who in particular who's pregnant. She in that car that they're in, she separates the men from the women. Like, hey, we're women, we should have our own space. And I mean, like, this is very, very reminiscent of how she kind of was in Gilead.
Yeah.
What did you make of all that?
I I can see where she would have slipped into that, in like naturally, I guess for her. It's more natural. That's what she wanted. That's just how she thinks it should go. Like, now that she is a mother and she has Noah, I feel like she's very much like, okay, well, we got to keep the women and children and whatever. And it's just like a lot. But my question is, okay, where's the dad? Where's the dad? Like, are you splitting up family members? Because there were some like moms and kids, and so I'm like, okay, are you splitting them, taking them away from their dad just so that they could be in this cart with the mothers and children? Like,
Great observation.
that doesn't make any sense. Or what about if they have children who are traveling with them that are teens or preteens?
Yeah.
What about that,
Yeah.
Serena? Like, I don't know why. Like, it just, part of it kind of, you can't segregate it like that, Serena. And it just, I mean, I get it in the logic of like for like maybe mothers or ones with very, very little itty bitty babies,
Mm-hmm.
like Noah. That
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes sense. Like, especially the pregnant woman that I don't think we ever got her name.
I don't think so.
That we were talking, that she was talking to on the train. Like, I understand that because she brought the doctor over to visit with June because June broke her arm and it was getting affected and she was obviously not well. I
Yeah.
understand that, and especially if you are outside of the context and the drama and the history between Serena and June, another mother helping with a baby while a mother is it is taking a nap or resting. Like, communal parenting is very, very normal.
Sure.
But I think she kind of used it and was like, oh, this is working. Okay, I can keep going with this. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not how it works.
No.
And the entire time, part of my brain was just like, especially when they kind of started turning on her, I'm just telling
Right.
my brain, June, take Noah. I mean,
Yeah.
she took Nicole, so you take Noah.
Yeah.
Noah is innocent. You take Noah and let them have at her.
Yeah.
But especially because like she kept saying that, she even said, "I'm not. What, you think I'm like some Disney villain? I'm just gonna take her." It's like, you did that.
That
You did
was so
though.
funny to me, though. Yeah, that was a great line. And you mentioned the doctor, and I'm glad you did,
Mm-hmm.
because June was obviously unwell. She had an infection with the arm that was broken. Doctor came to see June, but looks at Serena and recognizes her. Well, we later find out that the doctor reveals that he had been in Gilead, and he, only worked with men in the facility there in Gilead, and he said it was very rare when a woman would visit, but when it was always a commander's wife, and so he therefore outs Serena and had warned June ahead of time. You're traveling with a war criminal. She's not who she says she is. I've already identified her to an officer who's going to be coming down this way to arrest her and take her and what have you. And when all is revealed, the refugees that Serena's kind of making pals with are like, what the hell? Like, you don't deserve to be on here. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
start seeing the rage come out, obviously,
Yeah.
because she, in theory, is the one who created Gilead. And so when the doctor outs her, and then the officer arrives, and he's looking over her papers, having heard who she is and what have you, he shares with Serena. And I thought this was incredibly powerful. I was a little confused the first time, but I'm like, whoa, this is incredibly powerful. The officer looks at Serena and her papers, and he looks back at her and says, nope, these look legit to me. He goes, my wife and child were in Gilead. My wife was sent to the colonies. And usually when you're sent to the colonies, you usually don't live for very long. And he said, my son would have been 11 years old. He basically said, she's good. I'm not arresting her because I believe, quote unquote, her papers are legit. But he knew who she
Leaving her to the
was,
wolves.
leaving her to the wolves. And I'm like, whoa, that, whoa. I kind of didn't see that coming. I'm not going to lie, because I first interpreted it as, well, maybe he's being sympathetic. Like he, a bad thing happened in his life, but he's like trying to show mercy or something, because obviously Serena has this small child in her arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was wrong. I was very wrong, because then Amber, these women start pushing and shoving Serena around. And for June, June was trying to help Serena in a way by having her arrested so she gets out of that environment, but not so much for Serena's sake. It was for Noah's sake.
Yes.
And these women kind of got a little crazy.
Honestly, I was surprised that the women did go crazy with the fact not caring about Noah. That's what I was kind of crazy about, is that, like, especially because we are still in a world where infant mortality rates are extremely high, and where infertility rates are extremely high. So it's just like this, any child is a miracle, and not just in Gilead's context. Like the fact that having a kid is a big deal in this, I guess, alternate universe, not so alternate. But because of that, I was really, really surprised that they were just going at her with zero consideration about Noah. Not even somebody trying to like get Noah away from her.
Yeah.
Or even when, because June was screaming, just let me take Noah, let me take Noah. Or like she was trying. She was just like, she has the baby, like let me have him, just let me get to him. And people were not listening. That was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
That people were just not considering Noah in this equation. But I do understand, and it really did kind of smack me in the face, though. I think somebody in the crowd, this isn't verbatim, but said something about how that when June was coming to Serena's defense, someone said, she's brainwashed you. Like, like she's brainwashed you. Something's wrong with you. How can you defend her? And also calling out and saying it verbatim, like she raped you. And content warning, everybody, sorry. But I mean, we're watching this show and talking about this show, so
watch at your own risk, y'all. Your own risk.
Watch, listen, whatever. But yeah, for them to say that kind of smacked me in the face. And I know that throughout this episode, they kind of wanted to, and at least from the views that I've seen, people were kind of slightly having a little bit more sympathy for Serena. But then it's comments like that I'm like, no. Yeah. She's made so many continuous mistakes. And even when I have just the slightest hope that she could be better, she tosses it away, as she does later.
I was just gonna say, and we will see that later on in later episodes. But we're gonna stay on track with this episode and the events.
On track with the train.
On track with the train, but bum. Anyway, so yes, the two women escape the car. They are contemplating their next move. Basically, June like shoves Serena and baby Noah off the train, because otherwise these women were like breaking through the glass. They were trying to get their hands onto her. They called June a traitor because she helped Serena escape, but June surprisingly remains unharmed. She's got Nicole to worry about. She's also trying to heal from her injury. She makes it all the way to Alaska, right? Now, keep in mind, people, Gilead is the former United States, with the exception of Alaska and Hawaii, right? So as long as you're not in the lower 48, like you're fine. You're just cut off. You're technically the United States, but now you're just 2 stars on the flag, right? So that's what June will see when she enters the refugee camp in Alaska. But that's not all she sees, Amber. She's reunited with someone that we have not seen since the earliest episodes of The Handmaid's Tale. And that's none other than her mother, Holly Maddox, Dr. Holly Maddox, who is played by the wonderful Cherry Jones, who we believed, because June saw a photo of her mother in the colonies, And as I said earlier, you know, when you're in the colonies, you usually don't live for very long in the colonies. They work you to death. But somehow her mother's here in Alaska and they reunite. That was a very beautiful moment, but I said this offline to you earlier, Amber, that these episodes that are directed by Elisabeth Moss, aka June Osborne, I can't stand the long wide shots, the lingering wide shots, and it's just like just move on to the story. Yeah, exactly. Like it just move on, just move on. However, this will be the exception because I feel like the reuniting of mother and daughter was
Yes.
so important in this moment. Tell us your thoughts about this.
I was almost crying just because of the fact that her and her daughter. I mean, granted, Hannah's still in Gilead, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that. But her and Nicole, they finally made it. Yes, like her, like she's alone. She doesn't have even Serena, which that isn't great company, but still, like she's completely alone with Nicole, but they are safe for the time
Yeah.
being, and
Mm-hmm.
she's just. But there's also that sort of feeling of being adrift and being lost because you are literally across a nation from everybody that you love, and sometimes across, and she's completely barred from seeing other people that she loves, and she is completely alone, and then she's not alone, her mother's there, and also just thinking that your mom's passed, I can't even imagine the fact how she must have felt. Their reunion was amazing, and if
Yeah.
anyone was going to be on the other end of that train for June, I'm so glad it was Holly because that's just it's beautiful, you know, because she's able to help not just meet her granddaughter but help her daughter, and
Yeah.
that sort of maternal love is so strong in the Handmaid's Tale story as it is that I felt like it was the perfect stone to place.
Agreed. Did not see that coming. Did not see that reunion happening. The fact that Holly is she was a doctor back in the day with the United States, right? But it appears that she's working as some sort of healthcare professional in this refugee camp, maybe as a doctor, maybe as a nurse. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. The point is, she is there. She is doing her part in helping her fellow refugee Americans, and to be united with her daughter and one of her two granddaughters is just like a bonus. So I was like, wow, like June actually gets a little bit of happiness in her life. This is very unusual, but how long will it last? We're going to talk about that for the upcoming two episodes and throughout the rest of the season. Let's pivot over to Serena real quick. Serena is nowhere to be seen. She's like running off into the woods somewhere where she will eventually find refuge of her own. But we'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. Um, I'm gonna switch over to back to Canada, where Moira is trying to meet up with Mark Twello, who has been the American helping them throughout their time in Toronto, and so they meet. Twello basically reveals that like the U.S. embassy is closing. Canada's tired of housing the Americans, and they're becoming a little bit more understanding with Gilead, and they're trying to build a relationship with Gilead. And it's like, whoa, 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 what the hell is happening here? So the personnel and what have you is dwindling with the Americans, like the legitimate, American government. However, Tuello reveals to Moira that Mayday is still kicking, but they need volunteers. They need people to come and help out with that. So, very interesting to see that Mark Tuello is kind of last resort willing to work with rebels, if you will.
It's under the table, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there. It's an option, and I can admire him for at least wanting to continue to fight the good fight and to help as many Americans as he can. However, that comes with great risk, and I'm like, this is not going to end well. Obviously, this is not going to end well. We didn't get a whole lot of Moira in season 5. Amber, like, Are you hoping to get more out of Moira in this season, given that it's going to be the last? I feel like she's kind of been really cast aside as a side character.
I feel that too, but also, and maybe it might be just because I haven't read the book, but I'm not too sure what else we can do with her. Like we don't like she's technically, I mean, she's in Canada, so she is out of Gilead, and that's kind of the main goal for most of the women who were handmaids. It's kind of just the main goal, and like, hey, you did it several seasons ago, actually. And yeah, you're doing a lot to help with the resistance, and I get that, but like, we don't really see enough of her outside of Luke and June. Like, we don't see much of her with her own friends and her own family or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that to we don't have any of that connection to want to see more of her.
Sure.
So I'm not really I'm not really bummed out about not seeing that much of her, but it's because of that. It's because
Yeah.
we don't have that establishing reason to miss her or be like, hey, I don't know what's going on with that. Well, we do have other characters like Janine who are still in Gilead and are still greatly affected and they don't get their happily ever after. And I'm not saying that Moira does have a happily ever after currently, but her odds are definitely better than the other women in the show or other characters in the show. And I think the focus can definitely be turned to those other characters a little bit more than Moira, personally.
I get that. I get that for sure. Moira didn't really have much. I don't really even think Moira existed in the book, to truth be told. But yeah, it's still, I mean, she's a character that we've come to really love, admire, and feel attached to. I just feel like she's definitely been kind of sidestepped in the last season for sure. Let's wrap up episode 1 of the final season with catching up with Nick. Nick, as we left off in season 5, he had struck the commander. He was visited by his wife, pregnant wife, Rose, I should say. And she basically said, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, what's the point of being married to someone who runs to his girlfriend every time she calls? And I'm like, damn, like, also not wrong. However,
You're on.
I say she, Nick will return back to his home, Rose's home, if you will, in New Bethlehem. This is a new initiative from Commander Lawrence where he wants to invite refugees, people of Gilead, they formerly resided in Gilead in different capacities. He's trying to invite them back to a new society where they can be reunited with families, have jobs, have a say in things. Like, women are allowed to do more, than they could in Gilead. And it's like, at what cost? So
Exactly.
Nick returns to his home in New Bethlehem, but that's all, there's a new addition in his household. His father-in-law, the High Commander, High Commander Gabriel Wharton, played by, and I was floored when I saw this, Josh Charles. Now, if y'all are big fans of the Dead Poets Society back like from the 80s, the Robin Williams movie, Josh Charles was in that movie. He's been in several things, but I was so surprised to see him, wanting to be involved in this show. And to me, he looks fantastic. I don't believe personally he would be old enough to have, an adult child who is, pregnant, because he looks great.
I did a double take. The second that they it just implied that that was his father-in-law, I was like, what? And I am
they're
not
like the
kidding. I
same
rewound
age.
it. Yeah, I went back a couple of times going like, did I hear that right? Or even I have subtitles on because I have
Yeah.
like audio processing delay. So like that, I'm like, nice.
Yeah. He's
He
hot,
looks
man.
like yeah.
He's hot.
Yeah,
Man.
I did not think that could be a father-in-law, but
I
that can
know, but they
definitely
did it.
be adds tension and stress to our Nicky boy.
It will, because in a very sort of passive aggressive way, I took it, sort of approach, father-in-law basically says, I'm here to stay for a while. He's like, I got a grandson on the way. So we know that Nick and Rose are having a boy. Very interesting.
Do we
Very interesting.
know? I thought that was hopeful thinking.
Well, it could
They
be.
probably tested it. Because I think she's far enough along at this point that they can tell.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
I kind of just took it that as him being presumptuous,
I
personally.
hadn't considered that, but I was also remembering that this is still supposed to be a modern society where they do have
Yeah.
access to that kind of technology, but whether or not they actually do that, because it doesn't seem like they do that with the handmaids when they're pregnant. So maybe it's a different privilege when you're a wife and you're
Probably.
pregnant. Maybe. Who knows? But whether it's true or not, Commander Wharton is here to stay. And I think it's going to be an interesting storyline with him because I think he's going to catch on to some of the things that his son-in-law is up to, and it's just not gonna end well for anybody.
Nope.
So that wraps up the first episode of season 6. Let's move on to the second episode, which is entitled Exile. uh, we mentioned already that June has reunited with her mother after several years, and they've shared details about what's gone on in each other's lives. How Holly said she was liberated by the Americans, the army, what was left of it, if you will. About, I think she said about 6 months ago. So she hasn't been in Alaska for very long, but she basically told June she held on to hope to reunite with June, because every embassy or every organization she called and couldn't get information on June, she just knew she's alive. She's alive. Otherwise, I would have
A
something,
record.
a record. Thank you. Yes. But Serena, Amber, let's talk about Serena. This episode focused a little bit more on her too, where she, as I said, was running off into the woods. She comes across a church, right? She's hoping for sanctuary, if you will, and eventually finds refuge in a nearby community of just women and children. And she presents herself as someone named Rachel. Is it here that you kind of hoped maybe Serena will have a change of heart, her ways, and maybe leave the sins of her past back in Gilead?
I had seen from like the trailer that are like teaser things that she was wearing more of her professional look before, so I kind of like I think that's what they wanted me to think. They want like the show or the creators, whatever. They wanted us to think, yeah, she's gonna. This is the place for her. That's what she was doing on the train, was having a place for just women and children, and now she's in a place that's for women and children. This is perfect for her and perfect for Noah, and it doesn't last long. And that especially with her flashbacks to gardening and the relationship she had with her father, that was another way for them to kind of play with the idea that she might be happy here and stay here, because that's one of the things they do in this community is they all garden together and take care of each other, and like she's even crouching down and picking tomatoes with Noah like to her chest. Like um it seems lovely. And even then, like later on throughout the episode, she does talk with the woman who initially invited her or welcomed her, who sort of is kind of the matriarch of this area. She says that I knew who you were. I read your book. Like I knew who you were. I know you're not Rachel, and she still accepts her. And so, like, just seeing that kind of relief on Serena's face, you would think that that stays there. So I definitely think that that was what they wanted us to think, but no, I know it was a little too good to be true. You're on mute, my love.
I swear to God, one day I'm going to get this right. Thank you. You would think, with the events that occurred in Toronto with the Wheelers and how she was being treated much like a handmaid, if you will, in that household, and realizing, oh my God, the shoe's now on the other foot. I don't like this. I don't like the feeling. I don't like that I can't be with my child. You are not the mother. I am. She went from so high up being a wife of a commander, how she helped, envision Gilead, etc. And she's fallen so far down. And then it's like, you probably need to be humbled a little bit, right? You need to have a taste of your own medicine. And because she saw how she was being treated, she wanted to escape that household. She wanted to escape Canada. I mean, she was already out of Gilead. She was hoping for a fresh new start, one would hope, because she didn't want her child to be taken away from her like thousands of others have been, right? And
Hypocrite.
so yeah, can't seriously. What is it? Not Waterford. I say Bradley Whitford. Commander Lawrence said to her when she was at the cultural center, "Do you have an irony deficiency?" Like, seriously, it was a great line. Which, by the
It
way,
was.
sidebar: Bradley Whitford, who plays Commander Lawrence, said he really fought for that line to be included in the script. So I'm like,
Good for
brilliant,
him.
brilliant. It was so good. I like now use that on a daily basis. Anyway, but for Serena, she's found refuge in this community that's very women driven, which great, cool, if that's what makes you comfortable, what have you, but you've escaped the life that you previously had. Let's hope you don't fall back into it. Well, Gilead's never that far away, right? She's still in Canada. Canada is negotiating with Gilead, if you will. And at the request of Commander Wharton, once again, Nick's father in law, who communicates with Commander Lawrence, he wants Serena to be in New Bethlehem. She, after all, is the Gilead Global Ambassador. Who better than to PR the shit out of New Bethlehem? Who better? And so now there's this pressure of, crap, now we got to find her. Like, where is she? Where is she? Well, they locate her. Commander Lawrence and his new wife, Naomi, the former Putnam, now Mrs. Lawrence, arrive to this refuge community and meet with Serena. What did you make of that, Amber?
I'm just surprised he took Naomi with him.
Okay.
I was so surprised
Okay.
because we kind of already knew beforehand, like when they were getting together and stuff like that he does not have much patience or interest or care for Naomi. I thought it was kind of silly that he
Mm-hmm.
took her on this little excursion to go and try and recruit Serena. I don't know what to
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. Persuade her.
Yeah, I guess. I just thought it was like the second that Lawrence showed up with Naomi, I'm like,
Yeah.
how was that car ride? You brought her?
Yeah.
And anyway, aside from that, and me just giggling about it, the second that I saw her taking over the prayer, and
Wait, which by the way, when Commander Lawrence was asked to pray, he's like, nah, he goes, I'm more of a silent prayer, giver or whatever in my own mind. And then
Mhm.
Mrs. Lawrence is asked to do, and she can't put together a prayer to save her life. It goes to show how much of hypocrisy lies with these people, but we've already learned as much from Commander Lawrence, how he had a plan to save the country, but he needed the religious fanatics in order to help, bump that plan into action.
Yeah.
And so he himself, it seems, may not be a believer of any kind.
No.
He just needs to play the part. Same may go for Naomi, but for Serena, this is very real. This is personal for her, right? And thus takes over the prayer and has a thing or two to say. Please continue.
No, I just the second that she started taking over for it, for one, I thought it was kind of funny, but just because it really, like you said, does show the hypocrisy between Gilead, who are claiming to be so hyper religious and so faithful, they don't They can't even do a simple dinner prayer.
Nope.
I mean, I'm personally not religious, but I can pull something out of my ass. Um,
I mean, go hit them with the whole God is great, God is good. Let us thank him for our food. Amen. Like, come on, that's like a
sure,
go-to.
something. I don't know. I mean, I could have figured out something. I it just
Man.
doesn't. I thought it was a little silly, but the second that Serena took over, I knew. I was like, yeah, she's going. She's
Yeah.
going. This can't be a because knowing her and know how we've come to know her over the past previous 5 seasons, I think they wanted us to be like, oh, she's trying to like show in her place, I'm happy here. No, no, no. She's just showing I'm better at this than you. I can
Yeah.
continue to be better at this than you.
Yeah.
Because that's what Serena is like. I think she is kind of, even whether she wants to admit it or not, I think she's a bit vain in the fact that she knows,
You think?
yeah, that she knows, hey, I'm more devout than you. I am better. Like, that's why you need me. And
Mhm.
there's many reasons why they would need her for the PR aspect of New Bethlehem, but still, like, I knew, and I just
Yeah.
kind of threw my hands up, like, she's
So, I'll pose the question to you because a bit of advice that June gave to Serena when Serena was in the detention center. Noah had been taken away from her. He was with the Wheelers, and the whole thing is that she was going to go back to the Wheelers so that she could nurse Noah, basically be the handmaid. And June gave her a bit of advice. She's like, you go back there, you put on a good, what's the term? You put on a brave face, but you are plotting your revenge. You're plotting every single moment that you're there. And
yes.
it made me wonder in that moment with the pitch of, hey, come to New Bethlehem. It won't be what it was for you in Gilead. You'll have a voice. You'll be able to work. You'll be able to like do all these things that you once couldn't do in Gilead because she gave up that life
She
when
did.
they overthrew the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
She gave up that life willingly, which is so crazy because like I identify as being like a strong independent woman. There's no way in hell
Yeah.
that I would willingly submit to anyone, male or female, and
Yeah.
give up my life and my rights and my privilege to be able to do these things, right?
And so much of
So
what you are. I mean, she was
exactly.
a writer, and they weren't allowed to read
Exactly. So
or even be around books. So the fact that
right.
like so much of her identity was taken away willingly.
Absolutely. But yes, to your point, she willingly did that. So now this opportunity is presented to her in such a way where you can get back some of your life, right? You can live there with your child and you don't necessarily have to, you're not forced to remarry. You can go on about your things. But then it made me wonder, it's like, well, is she going to actually join forces with Commander Lawrence because he also felt some sort of remorse about the things that he's created, that is Gilead, and he's now trying to correct it, quote unquote, as he's told June as much. The question now lies with, is she going to actually help Commander Lawrence correct the things, or is she going to plot her revenge on everybody? Or is she just going to revert back to, the Serena Joy Waterford that we know from Gilead?
Personally, I think it's a little bit of the first two.
Okay.
I don't think she's going to revert fully. I do think she is plotting, she is planning, but I think what she's wanting to do is, I mean, so much of what Gilead is was because of what her and Fred, sorry, her and Fred, what they wanted to build together. But obviously that didn't work out so well for her. So I think she kind of wants to, I guess, for lack of a better word, create this world in her image. And
Hmm.
she wants to still make Gilead the Gilead she wants.
Mm.
And if that means working with Lawrence, who also kind of regrets and wants to alter how he did Gilead. I think they
Mm-hmm.
want to make a Gilead 2.0. I think that's kind of her plan. And if she gets to smite the people who wronged her along the way, then so be it. That's how I think she is thinking personally.
Okay. No, I think it's completely valid. I'm just curious as to the direction that she'll take. Like, is she really going to try to correct the things that they did wrong so that women can have a better life, if you will, even if it's in New Bethlehem under the Gilead government? Or is she going to pull a June and blow shit up? You know, you know what I'm saying? And for
I don't think she's
Lawrence,
ever going to blow it up.
probably
I
not.
think I
Probably
don't,
not.
but I also don't think she's going to entirely help everyone either. I think she's going to make, like I said, she create it in her image. She wants it to be good for women like her.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not going
That's
to be as inclusive for the Handmaids or the Marthas or anyone but the Serena Joys of the world. I think that's kind of it. She just wants an alternative that lets her do what she wants,
yeah.
and that's as much change as she wants to do. She still wants it to be Gilead. She still wants to do the Handmaids because that does help with the infertility and everything. She
Yeah.
wants all of that and the structure and the religious, um, I guess, mania
Connotation. That
connotation
too.
is better.
Yeah.
I think all of that is still what she wants and what she's going to strive for. But I think so. I don't. It's not a black and white.
Yeah.
She's going to blow up the place versus she's going to revert. I think she's wanting to create a new Bethlehem,
Mm,
a new Gilead, and it's
mm,
just. I think she wants to do something that's creating it in her image.
mm,
Let's her do what she
mm,
wants.
mm, mm. We will have to wait and see, and we'll come back to talk about Serena in the next well, not the next episode, but discussing episode 3. Let's shift back to what's going on with June. As I said, she's in Alaska. She's there with her mother, and June is trying to get in touch with to anyone to find out about what's going on with Luke. Luke has been arrested, and he is actually getting bailed out by Twello. Right, Twello is it's kind of the MVP in certain instances, but once Luke is released, they basically tell him that his hearing is going to take up to 4 months. So obviously, that's not a great thing to hear. Luke is stuck in Canada for the next 4 months. He's not with his wife and his child for all intents and purposes. But he ends up joining Moira in Mayday,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very interesting, and to still keep on tack with or on taps with Twello. Um, Twella had reached out to Nick in the past about kind of being a double agent, if you will, right? Nick, we know, has been an eye within Gilead. Eyes are basically kind of like their secret police, if you will. They discover just about anything and everything if treason's occurring and this and that, what have you. But because of the importance that June plays in Nick's life, he always wants to make sure that June and Nicole are safe. And in turn, he would give intel to Twello periodically, right? So there's a conversation that will be had between Twello and Nick. Twello needs like information about patrol times around No Man's Land because obviously Mayday needs to get through No Man's Land for various reasons. And Twello hands Nick a jump drive to which Nick always kind of seems hesitant now because, like you mentioned earlier, he's playing both sides, right? He wants the power that he has in Gilead, but then he also wants to like protect June. Well, conversation happens between Nick and his father-in-law, Commander Wharton, to where Nick is basically left with a decision to make. You can either be a better person or not, and he decides to burn the USB drive that Twello gave him. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that
because I
pains.
mean, his father-in-law was going off about who do you want your son like father to be kind of thing, and
Yeah.
it's like he has a kid and he also has Nicole. Like he's also Nicole's dad technically. I mean, yeah, he's gonna have this new Gilead baby boy, but he does have Nicole, and Nicole's with June, and
Yeah.
I was really shocked that he threw it in the fire because I genuinely thought
Me too.
because it seems like he was listening to what his father-in-law was saying and like, oh yeah, you're right, I need to be a better man for my son, and it's like, what
And I
about
think
Nicole?
I think that does very much appeal to someone who, let's say, didn't have the best upbringing with their father, because Commander Wharton touched on that. He's like, I
Yeah,
know what your father was like before the war and all this other stuff, and you Nick look to strong men in power to be like nurtured, if you will, like
yeah,
Waterford, Lawrence. He goes, I hope that you can look to me like that, basically. Like I can steer you in the right direction, because you also have a son on the way, and what kind of father are you going to be to him? So that does obviously pull some strings. Like it's going to
yeah.
tug at some strings for someone who lacked in that department growing up,
I get
because
it.
that's something I think, and I'm not a parent, uh, but I think that's something that could be understood, that every parent wants better for their children than what they grew up with or didn't grow up with, right? So
But what about Nicole? He just like
I
it's.
know.
I know. I think it's just the fact that he was able to play his father-in-law was able to play it. Son, you're having a son. You were a
Yeah.
son.
Yeah.
You want a father figure. You're going to be a father figure. I'm a father
Yeah.
figure. Like he was just talking about all the male things about it. And it's like, bro, you have a daughter,
I know.
and it's just
But he
so
willingly parted ways with her to save her, which is probably like an ultimate sacrifice, maybe in his eyes.
yeah.
But he chose to stay in Gilead because of whatever reasons, right? I mean, he could have left with June. He could have left with her.
Coulda.
Could have left with her and
Yeah,
Nicole.
they could have been a
But
couple. Could have happened. I don't know.
oh my gosh, that reminds me of what we'll talk about them in the next episode of of this premiere. Um, but that's kind of seems like where Nick lies. His allegiance is now to Gilead, and not going to answer Mark Twillo's inquiries any longer. So 2 months pass. Yeah, 2 months pass, and June has not heard from Moira or Luke. She's starting to get a little worried. Finally gets in touch with Twillo, who basically says, yeah, so they joined Mayday, and they're trapped. They're trapped in no man's land, where they were on a mission to get some intel about the commanders who issued the attack when the Americans were trying to get the girls out of the wives preparatory school, if you will, and like everyone just like died, sadly. So that's the information that they went to go get. They're stuck in like a water park, what have you. June's like, okay, I gotta go. Like, mom, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go help out Luke and Moira. Um, she leaves Holly, kind of not willingly, but she does end up leaving Holly with Nicole. And I kind of
Mhm.
messed myself up right there, because like Holly is also the name of baby Nicole, right? Her real name is actually Holly, but
Technically,
she named Nicole like to honor Serena, if you will, because that's what she named her. So yes, June leaves Alaska to return to Canada to meet up with Martuello, to hopefully meet up with Nick. She's like, if Nick's gone dark on you, he won't go dark on me. Like, get me out there, tell him that I want to meet up, and he will basically do whatever I say. That's just kind of
is
like the
she
vibe.
wrong? Is she wrong?
Not wrong. Not wrong. Not wrong at all. So basically, everything that I just said happened, right? So they meet up, and they are going to, they're I actually am getting a little bit ahead of myself, y'all. Sorry, I'm crossing over to episode 3. I'm going to wrap up episode 2 real quick, with June meeting up with Mark Twello and other Mayday fighters, with her basically saying like, "Hey, let's let's get shit done. We're going to bring everyone back home. So, and scene with episode 2.
But
Sorry.
also, I'm glad that she left Nicole with Holly, but part of me was just like, why wasn't that your first thought? Sorry. I mean, you're going into no man's land.
Yeah.
Like, lady,
Why are
this
you going to
is
bring a
like,
baby with you? Like,
I don't understand what her thought was. Like, were you just gonna like, and the other people who would watch Nicole in Canada are in no man's land that you're gonna go rescue. So it's like,
I mean,
what was your plan here, June?
potentially she could, if she connected with Rita, who has had very little screen time in this season
But
thus
Rita
far.
said that she was gonna go back, that she was interested in trying to
That's
find her
true.
sister in New Bethlehem. So
That's true.
no,
That's
so
true.
I'm like,
Good point. Touche.
girl.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Good point. Yes, you're
That's
right.
just
Okay.
my thought. I felt like it was literally just so that they could have that conversation, so Holly could learn who Nicole's actual father was, and so that they could have this little tiny bit of conflict. I feel like that
Yeah.
was a conversation that did need to be hashed out between Holly and June.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was their reasoning for it.
Agreed. Yeah. No, you're
But
right. You're
yeah.
right.
But from a logical, non-plot driven standpoint, why would you bring a baby into a war zone, lady?
Just because people are stupid. And June is not exempt from that, stupidity at
We
times. But
know.
yeah, that was just silly. So June once again is joining the resistance. She is going to, go rescue her friends. And I think this would be safe to say this is more or less where like the rebellion reignites, if you will. Episode 3 is entitled Devotion, and as I mentioned already, June reconnects with Nick, and they're going to go on a rescue mission to get Luke and Moira out of this abandoned water park, which was funny. Amber, I think you'll appreciate this. This gave me like Percy Jackson vibes from Sea of
Thanks God it
Monsters.
wasn't just me.
Oh no! I totally 100% got it. I'm like, where's the Cyclops? Like, where is it? Where is it? Where's the Golden Fleece? Anyway, but that being said, yes. So June and Nick reunite. They have like these moments where like you can just see the electricity between the two of them. They're still in very much like of each other, in love, perhaps, which is
They say
really,
it, yeah.
they say it, yes. But it's so peculiar because of the fact that June, prior to Gilead, obviously married to Luke, has a child with him. Hannah obviously is still in Gilead. She can't get her hands on her just yet, and she reunites with Luke in Canada, and they have a rocky reunion, if you will. They're trying to figure things out, but they eventually reconnect. But June is still very much in love with Nick, and then Nick, who is now commander, he's really like elevated himself, has a wife, has another child on the way. I can understand perhaps that he doesn't particularly love her, Rose. Like, she seems like a nice enough person. No disrespect to her. But I can understand on Nick's part not being in love with his wife because of how he feels towards June, and obviously he goes
And
out
it
of
was
his way.
arranged.
It was arranged, true. But Nick goes out of his way constantly to like help her, or to go see her when she's been when an attempted murder has been inflicted on her, right? Like he was allowed into the country to go see her, which was crazy to me. So I can see him still being in love with June, but for June to still be in love with someone, but yet she's still like in love, quote unquote, with Luke, and it's just like, oh, girl, you are full of
I
trauma.
again, I don't have who specifically. It was on some random TikTok, a comment on a TikTok, so it's lost to the ether. But somebody said that she loves Luke, but she's in love with
In
Nick.
love with Nick. I can
And
see
I
that.
get that. I get
I can
that.
see that. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
also another person was saying that they firmly believe that she's just still recommitting herself to Luke all the time because she wants to keep that family unit together for when they get Hannah back.
Okay.
Because Hannah already doesn't remember her because it's been years. And Hannah, like, she had that very heartbreaking moment telling her mom that Hannah doesn't remember her. And, like, that just made me start crying. But she wants anything and everything that she can to try and cling to that previous life that she had. And that was
Mm-hmm.
with Luke and Hannah. So I think she's just clinging to that. I think she does love Luke still, but it's a different kind of love while she is still in romantic love with Nick because of the trauma bond that they have. It's traumatic
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
it's a love bomb formed from trauma. And I completely understand how
Yeah.
she could say that. I but part of my little shipper heart though was kind of like devastated when he's like, "Do you know what it's like to be in love with you?" And I'm like, "Ooh,
Oh, so
ooh,"
traumatic. Like the
because
whole thing, he's like, I can't lose you again. And I'm like, ah, like,
yeah, and but again, it keeps going back to what I said at the beginning of this episode: is if he really wanted to be with her, he could. Like, I genuinely
yeah,
think, like, granted, there would be tension and disagreements between Luke and Nick, but I don't think a throuple is that hard out of, like, far out of reach. I don't think so. And,
mm,
and
mm, 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 mm.
for both of the daughters and things like that. Like, I just, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't
Yeah,
want, whether it's fear of what Gilead would do to him
valid.
or retribution or
Yeah,
anything else that would happen. But also, he does have a son on the way now.
yeah,
So that's another thing anchoring him to Gilead is once this baby is born, he has just as much to devote to this boy, who I don't think we have a name for the boy yet,
no,
and as he would to Nicole.
yeah,
So it just you can't really go after the women you love when
yeah,
you want the power and the security.
yeah.
And if he can't be with Nicole, then he can be with his son.
I will give him the credit of going out of his way to help save the husband of the woman that he is in love with.
Oh
And
yeah,
just,
that got him some points with me. I was like,
oh,
good for you,
dude.
man.
I mean, he literally murdered two, I guess, eyes,
Yeah,
perhaps, or patrol, Gilead
I thought they
patrolmen.
were eyes.
Yeah, whatever they are. Nonetheless, they're
Mm.
they're 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 Gilead affiliated,
Yeah.
and he just like straight up shoots them dead. Otherwise, they were gonna be telling on him as to the activity that occurred. And I mean, he did it really without much hesitation. Like he's gonna do
So
whatever it takes.
casual.
Yeah, so casual. Like this is
Just
this is also very concerning. Very concerning. Like, huh,
eh.
you can't be that casual about things like that. But he does it.
What does
He
it say
saves.
about the shows that I watched that I was like totally
Oh, I
fine with
know.
it? I was like, okay,
I know.
yeah,
But
that makes total sense.
the embrace that Luke gives to Nick, because it was Moira's first time meeting Nick. Like she knows of
Oh
him.
yeah,
But Luke has previously met Nick once before, and he just
and he
embraces.
knows.
Yeah,
He
and he
knows
knows the
what's
truth, right?
yeah.
But he embraces Nick like a longtime friend, brother. Like, thank you so much. Like, man, you're the MVP in this whole thing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you do realize this other man fucked your wife and produced a child.
I'm telling you,
Wild.
it
Absolutely
probably won't
wild.
happen, but I could see it.
No. Well, we're gonna ship it though. We're gonna ship it. Anyway,
You need a name.
it's oh, I know, gosh, oh god, how do we do that? Anyway, point of this whole story is that Moira and Luke are saved by June and Nick, and just for a brief moment, hope flickers in our eyes, and it's beautiful. Switching gears, Amber, we're going to talk about Serena and her return to Gilead's high society, if you will. And she is donning a new color, a new outfit in New
Yeah, I was gonna
Bethlehem.
bring that up.
Yeah, please,
It's
please discuss.
pink.
Is it
It's.
pink really? Is it more like mauve?
I thought it was pink. Oh well,
It's like
okay. You actually, in certain lights, you're right. It is more mauve, but
yeah,
like
it's like
that
a
kind
pinky
of
purple.
that. Mm, the implications of the color, because obviously we know color is very important with your status level in Gilead,
Yeah.
but I thought actually it would make more sense for it to be a more mauve color because Purple is what the new girls are, like Hannah, the
Hmm.
new girls who are the who are now becoming young women and
Yeah.
are uh, able to produce children. They are purple
Yeah.
and a very beautiful purple.
I think
And
they
then,
basically said wives in training.
yeah, like wives in training and fertile wives in training. I felt like that was kind of
Yeah.
important. That fertile wives in training and pink is just for the girls. And also, pink is a diluted red.
Yeah.
And she's now a mother. So I feel
Mm.
like being that kind of right in between pink, red, purple. I feel like being right in between all of that, I think that was a very clear statement.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting to see Serena just kind of fall back into step with being
Mm-hmm.
someone prominent in this new society, if you will. And she is going to make her first public appearance with Noah because Gilead has invited political officials, if you will, like I think the I don't know if it's the president or whatever, if you will, the representative from Canada, and then I think from another country to just learn about New Bethlehem because these are countries who have housed American refugees who they've spent time and money and resources on them, and they're like, we want to have our countries back. We don't want to have to deal with other people's countries, but they want to ensure that the refugees come to a place
That is
where
safe.
it's safe, they'll be taken care of. It's not like what's happening in Gilead with the slavery, if you will, and all the other terrible things that go on there. And Serena is playing up the part. She's like, this is a place where women can now read, write, and work. Okay. But she admits to her wrongdoings, if you will. She's like, yeah, I've done some bad things, and then I was blessed with my son, and it's also because of Gilead's clean water and clean air that this was able to happen, and this could happen for other countries too, and blah 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 blah. Like this is a wonderful opportunity, really selling it, right? Selling the point home, and she drives home that whole idea when the Canadian representative is allowed to hold Noah and just it's just everyone's happy because there's a little tiny baby involved, and it seems like things are going her way. But she's also caught the attention of Commander Wharton, Nick's father-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and he is very interested in Serena. There's a little bit of flirting, if you will, occurring. What do you think Commander Wharton's intentions are with Serena?
I think I think he's very shrewd and saw that she is obviously a favorite and
Mm-hmm.
people like her and oh, this is working out well. I want to be on her good side. Doesn't matter how. I think he's trying to play his angle, see how he could be on her good side. That's at least how I took it.
Okay.
I don't know if he's like if he's hoping she'll marry again because I highly doubt she would. But I do think he's buttering her up.
So I'm going to pose this question. I think he's genuinely interested. It appears to me that Commander Wharton is wifeless, whether that's because he's a widower like Commander Lawrence or other reasons. We don't know. It appears he's wifeless. And if he's genuinely interested in Serena because of just attractiveness or what have you, my question is if he does intend to marry her, is it to bring her back to a state where women have no voice as a wife? Or would he reside in New Bethlehem with her where she could continue her work and be outspoken and be able to make decisions and call some shots?
I don't think we know enough about his character to determine that
I kind,
because
I kind of feel like he has ulterior motives. I feel like he wants to, what's the term?
control her.
No, there's a more colloquial way of saying it, but basically just, lock her down in more ways than one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I mean. I don't think I don't know. I think his interest in her. I mean, yeah, he can find her attractive, but that whatever. I think he's trying to get in her favor. Doesn't
Mm.
matter in which way. I think he's trying to get in her favor because if somebody who has that much control and power is it likes you, they'll be more open and listening to what you have to say. And I think he might be a person who would play on that. He if he wanted to change things or alter things, or which I don't really think he does, but he can keep an eye and guide her, I guess. It's just a way of guiding her to what he wants still for Gilead and stuff like that. And not really controlling her, but still like having a bit of a harness on her.
I just also wonder how supportive he is of this New Bethlehem initiative. Like, is he really truly behind it, or does he want to see it fail and blame Lawrence and take down everyone who was affiliated with it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm very sus about him. I'm very, very sus about him. I don't
Me
believe
too.
a good guy. I think he's someone we need to watch out for, but time will only tell. But apparently he's interested in Serena. That goes without saying, for sure.
Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna shift to talk about other characters in Gilead that we didn't see in the first two episodes, and I was starting to get a little concerned, Amber, because these are characters that I think are very near and dear to our hearts. One of which I think is starting to have like a shift in her role in this world of Gilead. And what I'm talking about are none other than Aunt Lydia and Janine. Aunt Lydia and Janine have had a really kind of tumultuous relationship since the get-go. Like, Janine, oh, poor girl, has gone through so much, having her eye taken out, having been nearly poisoned to death by Esther, who, by the way, I'm just going to throw this in here, right now. Where the hell is Esther? Like, we have not seen her. She was left having been raped by the late Commander Putnam. She is with his child, and we last saw her screaming in bed in the hospital when Aunt Lydia was visiting her.
I completely forgot about her.
Wow, I have not. Okay, I need to see McKenna grace us with her presence one more time, because she is a powerful, powerful actress. And this character, I'm like, are we just gonna like pretend like this is not a thing? They're not gonna not let her have the child. I mean, like, that's the whole purpose of Gilead. It was a very horrible what happened with her.
Oh, it was
course.
tragic. I completely agree with you.
Yes.
I just I can't believe that slipped my mind. Granted, you did a rewatch. I wasn't able to.
I did not do a rewatch, but
I
that
thought
was
you
a very.
did.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
But
when I was watching these episodes, I'm like, where is she? Where's Esther? Why have we not seen her?
I really, really do hope that we get closure on not just Janine and on Lydia, but her as well. Like everybody.
Yeah.
We need to know, especially. I know other characters we're not going to really get, but yeah. It was sad seeing Janine, but also Lydia. Aunt Lydia, how stupid can you be? Like, did you really like? It was a bit of a shocker to see that she truly believed that they get to retire to Florida or whatever. Like,
greener pastures.
Woman, what delusion are you in? Like,
her life.
It's just like how with Serena, I think they wanted us to feel sorry for her, have some compassion or understanding for her. But I was just the entire time like, you can't be that stupid. And
yes, they can, 100%.
Yeah, I know, but it was just more of disbelief of you can't be that. Really? Like it
Yeah.
was just constant, and I think it had to be Janine
Oh,
for her to
for it
get
to
it.
have effect. Yes,
Yeah, it
for the effect to
had
play
to
out.
be Janine.
So let's kind of go back to season 5 real quick with what happened with Aunt Lydia and Janine. Janine, who really was helping Aunt Lydia out in the Red Center, helping these handmaids kind of fall into line and what have you. Janine's always been Aunt Lydia's special girl, right? I mean, she says that about many of these handmaids, but really, she has a soft spot for Janine. And when it came to
I hate
Lydia's
the nickname.
attention,
I hate the nickname. I'm
oh,
sorry.
I
I
know
just
it's so
like
bad.
every time I'm like, ugh.
I know. So it comes to the attention of Aunt Lydia that the other aunts see the favoritism that she shows with Janine, and she needs to be treated just like the rest of the handmaids. She can't stay in the Red Center forever. Janine's going to be posted. The proposition was that she would be posted in the Lawrence's household with Naomi, who's the new wife. By the way, she Naomi is played by Ever Carradine, whom I absolutely adore. I love the fact like the Carradine family are just they're so well known in Hollywood and they're all great actors. Anyway, Naomi has a very like
They have history.
they have history. It's a struggle, especially with Angela, who is Janine's biological daughter. But Janine has finally come to the whole like, yes, she's not mine. She's Naomi's, and she behaves herself. Well, when Janine is being posted, if you will, no, Naomi just kind of takes it like, oh, it's so nice to have like a friendly face here, and we're just gonna, get through this together. And Janine kind of like snaps. She's like, we're not friends. Like we
Yeah, she needed
are
to check herself.
yeah, like I think you're evil. Like I think you're one of the most evil human beings that I've ever met. Fast forward to like this wedding that the Lawrence have, and Martha passes by Janine and tells her about what's going on with like June, how June had been hit by a truck and what have you. Well, that information somehow gets out to higher ups. Janine and that Martha are arrested, and you see them being taken away in a van, presumably to their death. Right? That's how season 5 ends for Janine in particular. However, in this episode, Aunt Lydia is taken to an unknown place. I was like, I did not see this coming. Truth be told, she's taken through the back doors of what is Jezebel's. Now, I don't know if it's the same Jezebel's that we've seen June visit or Moira, that kind of thing, but it's a Jezebel's. And she encounters Janine,
Yeah.
who has been there for some months. And Aunt Lydia just couldn't believe it. She's like, this deplorable place? Like, and it's not just Janine, it's other handmaids, of course, that Aunt Lydia has groomed, if you will. Ugh, I just said that and just made me almost vomit in my mouth.
It is what
But
it is.
it is what it is. Janine goes by the name Kitty at this point, and she's like, "What are you doing here? Like, you know, this is just what life is now. We were all your special girls, and you didn't help us. You just, it is what it is. If you want to help me, just forget about me." And Lydia's beside herself. Like, tell me what your thoughts were with that exchange.
I mean, I kind of felt like how Janine felt like, sorry, you're so traumatized by what happens to us. That
Sorry, you're doing the
you,
bad
like,
thing.
yeah, like, sorry that you suck. Like, I couldn't.
Yeah,
It
crazy.
was. I was just like, Lydia, I know you're dumb, but really, like,
Exactly.
it was just.
Too much.
I don't like to use this word in relation to people, but it was kind of pathetic. I
Yeah.
like what it, and then she goes to like commanders to try and like get them to change. Like,
She goes to Commander Lawrence specifically.
yeah, you think he's
And
gonna care?
of course Naomi's there and she's just like, no, like we're not gonna help her. Like she she badmouthed me and like, no, we're not going
Mm-hmm.
to do anything to help her. Like we've tried and that's all there is to it. And then Lauren's just kind of like, well, you heard what my wife said. So I'm like, typical man, you know.
That is a man. But
Yeah.
also, like, sorry that you did a bad thing and you can't fix it. Like,
Yeah.
wow, sorry you feel hopeless. That's a
Exactly.
little bit of irony for you.
Yeah. For Lydia, you know, she had pleaded with God in the previous season, especially especially when Janine had been poisoned thanks to Esther. She pleaded with God and said, I can change. I will change. I will do what I can to help these girls and this and that, what have you." And of course, Esther's called bullshit on it. And
Yeah.
Janine, you know, Janine, I feel was a little bit more. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? She was accepting of Lydia's changed ways and was going to go along with it until Naomi said what Naomi said. Um, but Lydia, I mean, do you think at this point now her eyes have been opened? Is this setting up for something bigger?
From what I have like gleaned again from comments, I believe that this does lead up to something in Testaments. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't know what because I haven't read it,
Ah,
but I that's at least what I've heard, and I'm fine with that. I would. I mean, they kept her around this long. I'm not really surprised
yeah,
because at least in the first season, it was just it. She didn't. I didn't think she was going to be this consistently much of a main character. I thought
yeah.
we were gonna get her maybe like here and there and like one or two seasons in a 1-2 episode a season, but no, she's kind of turned into a character, and I feel like they are gonna try to make that metamorphosis before
Mm-hmm.
the series ends to lead into this sequel series, but then also um, I mean, it's a little too late, babe. What do you what do you expect to happen? Because there's for all of them having control over the handmaids while they're at the centers,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't really have that much control in any other aspect in Gilead because she's still a woman
Yeah,
and she's not a wife.
that's fair.
And
She
like
is respected, though. She is respected. I'll give her to her credit.
a bit, but the
Yeah,
second she starts running her mouth, people are gonna do exactly what sorry, previous Miss Putnam said. Like
yeah,
it's gonna and Lawrence, like people are the second she starts running her mouth, they're not gonna listen to her.
yeah.
And wow, doesn't that suck on Lydia?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
It
know.
does. I will say Madeline Brewer, who plays Janine, will also be making her appearance in the final season of Netflix You. I'm very interested to see how this is going to go for her and one Joe Goldberg. We will also be covering that here on the Watchers in the Basement. So be
Yeah.
sure, yes, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way, you know when we will be discussing that towards the end of this month. Amber, I think we pretty much wrapped up everything about the first 3 episodes of season 6 of The Handmaid's Tale. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to discuss? Or do you have any predictions about what the remainder of the season holds?
I I don't know. A lot of people were saying that the story's going to end with June dying. Like the story ends with June's end, and I don't think that that's surprising.
Okay.
Um, I I don't really have any predictions specifically. I don't because again, I don't really know the story. I don't really know how things are gonna go, but I don't have much hope for because I mean we still need to figure out what the what Nick's father-in-law is up to, because he's
Mm-hmm.
just a swarmy guy.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to figure out what Serena's angle is, and I'm just very, very interested in it. But also, Commander Lawrence doesn't seem to be up to any shenanigans as much as this season as he has in the past, but I'm sure that that is definitely going to happen because that man's full of shenanigans.
Yeah.
And he's over here playing 4D chess. So I'm I
Not
wouldn't be
40
surprised if something.
chess. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Am I wrong?
No.
No, he will have more things to say in the future, but I felt like he was kind of just a intermediate
Yeah.
character in these
Yep.
first episodes.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely more to be had for the Handmaid's Tale. Because I do know what happens in the Testaments. I will not say too much other than the fact that I feel like we are going to get a lot of clever planning, action, double crossing, that kind of thing. I feel like these characters are going to really step it up. And that's also based on the teaser trailer that
Oh yeah.
was also airing. Um, and it looks like perhaps June is going to make a return inside Gilead and don the red
Mm-hmm.
once again. Woo! Shit's going to go down, y'all. It's
So much.
crazy. It's crazy. We will be returning hopefully every week, if not every other week, to discuss the latest episodes of The Handmaid's Tale. So join Amber and I for these live streams. We'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, and what you are hoping will happen in this final season. Amber, not only are you a wonderful person, you have a wonderful YouTube as well. Tell us about it.
Thank you. I my channel as well as my tag here in this right here is OllivAmbers.wands. My channel is all about the wands and wand lore of Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and the rest of the Wizarding world, as well as outside the Wizarding world. So I go into the cultural, symbolic, historical meaning of the wood that these wands are made of, and the magical beasts that the cores are from, and I talk about that. A lot of exciting new things are happening in the wand lore, wand collector community right now, with Epic Universe opening up next month. A lot of with all of the influencers and media day that happened just the other weekend ago. There's a lot of stuff going on with wands. I have a couple of videos up on my TikTok and my YouTube for talking about the new wands that are going to be at the shop, but more videos to come once since I have a lot more information about them now.
Woo!
And yeah, if you like wands and you like Harry Potter, have any interest in it, or want to learn more about it, I'm your gal.
Yes, show Amber some love. Be sure to go give her a follow on her Instagram and her YouTube. You can find her links in the description box down below. Yes, I can talk. And while you're at it, be sure to give the Watchers in the Basement a follow on our social media links as well and help us, once again, reach 500 subscribers. And Amber, I'm not sure if you saw, I think you did, but today, April 12th, is a very important day in the Watchers in the Basement history because it is today, 6 years ago, that we debuted here on YouTube with our season 8 preview of Game of Thrones. Season 8 was just not a good season after all. But hey, it's what got us into the podcast world. Thank you to everyone who has shown love along the way. We've grown, not just in numbers, but with the Watchers family. Amber has joined us, Tristan, Marcy. We've had special guests, co-hosts, if you will, with some fans of ours. We really appreciate all the love that you all have shown these last 6 years. So we're heading into I say season, but year 7 with a lot of content headed your way. Join us once again for The Handmaid's Tale. We'll be talking about you later this month. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us. At time of recording, it's going to premiere tomorrow on Sunday, and we'll be talking about it every Monday for the rest of the season. And I know we've got other movies. We're wrapping up Daredevil on Disney Plus. So please, once again, join us here for
Doctor
those live
Who.
streams. And we will be covering Doctor Who, one of Amber's most favorite topics of the world. So we will be covering that shortly as well. We got a lot of content, y'all. Summer's going to be crazy with the movies as well. So help take part in that. Be sure to join us for those live streams. If you're also interested in audio podcasts, we've got you covered on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating. So for Amber, I'm Brittany. Thank you so much for joining us for The Handmaid's Tale, and we will catch y'all the next time for The Handmaid's Tale episode 4 and maybe 5. We'll see, but be sure to join us then. And as I like to say, Amber, under his eye.
Under his fucking eye. Get it right.
This is true.